This is the Suspenders Unbuttoned podcast. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Julie.
Join us for unbuttoned and unedited conversations.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Suspenders Unbuttoned podcast. My name is Sarah.
And I'm Julie. And today we're excited to have Karen Schaler, Emmy Award-winning storyteller, creator and host of Travel Therapy TV, screenwriter, author, journalist, and coloring book author.
That's so new. We'll be talking about that.
Oh, that's amazing. Welcome. We're so excited to have you.
Oh, you guys, thank you for making my annual tradition. I am so excited. You know, it seems always around book launch. You guys are here to help share the news. And honestly, it would not feel right without you. And even though, Julie, I know you've had an injury, I probably shouldn't tell people, but I'm worried about
Everyone
you.
knows. It's not a secret. Because we've been doing some lives, so it's been out.
Oh my goodness. Well, we're going to talk Christmas cheer and get everybody in the mood. I just was doing some national TV segments, and people, the reason they asked me on is they were like, why are we seeing Christmas? Before we complained if it was before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Now it's even before Halloween. And I'm like, as it should be. And we have Christmas in July. I don't know why we don't just start in July.
Just
Christmas
keep
in
it
July
up.
and just keep going. I mean,
All the
that'll
way
be
through.
life goals.
Right? That's amazing.
We really only pause for like back to school, and then it's right back into Christmas. Yes.
Love that. As it should be.
As it should be. Tell us about your new book, which it's not a new story, it's a new adaptation, right?
It is. And thank you. I'm so excited. I actually got my little goodies right before I came on because it is Every Day is Christmas. And there's a whole story about this crystal heart ornament. But what happened is I broke into screenwriting. I was so blessed, you guys. And you guys have been with me on my journey to know that my very first movie that I sold became a Netflix hit called A Christmas Prince. It had 2 sequels. One of the reasons it was a hit is because it was actually destined to Hallmark. And we thought it was going there. And then Netflix for the first year decided to do their first original Christmas movie. And mine was picked. And that was so exciting. Well, that same time, I loved Hallmark. So I had another movie that I actually thought, okay, Netflix bought Christmas Prince. Now, Christmas Camp, my next movie, will go to Netflix. And it ended up at Hallmark, as we all know. We'll be talking about Christmas Camp news coming up. But then at the same time, I like to be an equal opportunity Christmas writer. Lifetime called me in. And the year was 2018. So Christmas Prince had just come out. And now Christmas Camp was being shot. And I was already just literally had left HarperCollins in New York City to get the 3-book deal with them to turn the Christmas Camp movie into books and then have another book after that. And I got the call to come into Lifetime. Now, I had sent a script, and I love this script so much. It's literally one of my favorite ones. And so when they called me in, that doesn't usually happen. And so I'm like, oh, they're going to buy the script, or at least they have questions about it, right? And I'm still so new. Like, I'd had a Christmas Prince, and then the Hallmark one shooting. This all was with, in less than a few months.
Right.
So I go into the office in New York, and I love telling this story. It's one of my favorite stories to tell because it feels like it's right out of a movie. You can't make this up. And I remember going in, it's the A&E offices in New York City, and I've never met any of the executives. A lot of times you sell projects, you'll talk to other writers, and they've still not met the executives face to face, because you're so busy and everyone's working and you're in different locations and all of that. That's one of the blessings of being a writer. You're not boots on the ground as much as some of the other, things. Obviously, if you're an actor or director, you have to be there. But so I'm in the Lifetime, I'm in with the group, and they bring me down this long hall, and there's these office spaces, and it's all glass. And I see this big long table, like one of those lawyer tables that you see where people sit on the opposite ends. But because it's me, and I'm like this all the time, because you guys know I'm just real. I'm a chatterbox. I am who I am. We're walking, and I'm looking, and there's another office we walk by, but it has like a big, huge thing of like cookies, like Christmas cookies, just like you'd see in one of those movies. And I'm like, are we going in that office? And they're like, no, we're going to this one. And I'm like, oh, I need the Christmas cookies. And one of the executives thought I was like serious. He goes, well, we can get cookies. We can get you cookies. And I'm like, no, I'm kidding. I'm just, well, not really. I'm just being me. So we sit down. Yeah, I'm just being silly.
Brand.
I'm like, I really do need those cookies. But okay. So we start. And I'm just, waiting to hear, because usually they'll start with what they like, what they want changed, maybe their visions. This is what I'm in my mind. Of course, I'm, playing this over. Like, I'm all ready for my interview. Like, I figured, didn't even know if it was an interview. I wasn't really sure. Just sometimes they call it a chemistry check. Like, do we like each other? Do we want to work with you?
Right.
So I'm there for it. Every scenario I had played out in my head. I'm super excited, except the one that happened. That had never played out in my head. That wasn't even in the realm of Karen Schaler thinking. And the part that I love to tell, because it's just funny and it really makes me look like a baby screenwriter. That's what we call ourselves in Hollywood, babies, even if you're a grown woman like I am, just because we're new to the industry. And this gives away, I like to be authentic here about what I didn't know, And so I'm sitting there and they start off about their Christmas slate and how amazing it's going to be. And I'm there for it. I've loved their Christmas movies for a long time, just like Hallmark and Netflix.
Right.
And they said, well, this year they go, we got Toni Braxton. She is going to be our showcase. She's our star. I'm like, Toni Braxton, that's amazing. And they're like, we are so excited. We are blowing this up. This is going to be huge. It's going to be our showcase movie. And they're going on and on and on about this, not the topic of the story, but just how Toni's going to be in it, all the things they're going to do and how special it's going to be. And, we're all talking. And to be honest, they're going on for about 10 minutes about it. And I'm listening and I'm all engaged. But in the back of my mind, the executives know this. I'm like, when are they going to talk about my movie? But it's okay. I'm here for it. I'll talk about Toni Braxton all day, any day, and please. But because I'm not nervous, but I'm excited and I'm ready to kind of go and I'm super excited. So I'm listening in the back of my head. I'm starting to, think of questions they could ask me and answering them. I'm like, and then they finally go, so what do you think? And I was kind of that moment, if it would have been a movie, it'd be like, what?
Yeah.
And they said, well, what do you think about our having Toni Braxton? I'm like, well, I think you're really lucky. I think it's amazing. I think the fans are going to love it. All the reasons that we talked about. And they said, and they kind of went, and I was like, and then they was like, so, and I'm like, so, I just was so confused and they're all leaning in and I'm leaning in and they're like, well, do you want to pitch for it? And I'm like, for what? I mean, literally, I said that, and they're like, the movie, and because I was just, and I think I must have just kind of been blanked out for a second. And they said, we're interviewing writers for the movie, and I'm like, oh, so now I'm quickly going, oh my gosh, is that why I'm here? Am I being interviewed for this? Oh my gosh, was I supposed? Oh my God, my whole thought process of why I'm there is thrown out the window, and so I'm like, oh. And they said, but we want to be clear, this is a huge movie. And we got big writers, big feature writers in LA, because I'm in New York. We have big people, but we liked they bring up my script. We liked your other movie a lot. We really like your voice and your writing. And we thought, give you a shot at pitching for this one. And I was like, are you kidding? Well, that's amazing. What does that mean exactly? Like, what are you looking for? Because I don't know what I'm thinking now. Like, I think I said that now. And they're like, no, not now. And they're like, here's the deal. She wants to be the Scrooge. And I'm like, okay. And they're like, so we're thinking, boy meets girl, it starts off the movie. She has a boyfriend, but of course she dumps him because she's a Scrooge. It's her, not him. She has to go through her, whatever it is. And then, they get together in the end, happily ever after, happy Christmas, normal story, normal rom-com. And I'm like, okay. And I think they said, and it's Toni, so she wants to look fabulous. And I'm like, well, she looks fabulous wearing a paper bag, I'm sure.
No kidding.
But
yeah.
I do remember saying, I go, you do know this is Scrooge. And they're all going like that. And I'm like, well, Scrooge, the whole idea is he's miserly. He doesn't, spend money. He's not going to be wearing designers. And they're like, well, that's your screenwriter. That's what you need to figure out. Okay. And so then the funniest part was I said, well, what does that mean exactly, pitch? And they said, just give us a one sheet. Your ideas. I'm like,
what's
okay.
that?
Yeah, no, but I was like, well, one sheet, right? I'm like, okay. I said, yeah, okay, great. So I'll send you a one page. And they're like, no, it's usually 3 or 4 or 5 pages. I'm like, but it's called a one sheet. Like you said, Julie, right? You're like, well, so I'm thinking I finally knew what we were talking about. And I said, okay. So I remember it was a Thursday. And so I went home. And then as we were walking out, I finally said, because I guess I'm bold, I'm like, and what about my other movie? Because they'd already made it real clear that I felt they were being kind. I have since learned in Hollywood, even though they're amazing, one of the best experiences I've ever had, but no one's really kind. I mean, they don't have time for kind. I mean, unless you can help them. So no one was just being nice, inviting me in. Yeah. But I didn't know. So I just thought, well, I'm not going to get this movie. So, I really want to know about my other movie. Right. So I said, what about that one? And they said, well, it's a little bit, it could be too similar, going down, the Christmas Carol-esque type story, even though mine wasn't. We'll just look at that later and maybe make that next year or something. but let's just see where we're at with this and see where we're at. And I'm like, okay. So I went home, and like the next day, I got up the next morning, I wrote it and I sent it in. And I remember one of the executives I sent it to said, what is this? I'm like, that's your one sheet that's really 3 pages.
Yeah.
And they were like, you're done? And I'm like, yes. And they was like, well, most people take a couple weeks. You have a couple weeks. Would you like more time?
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yep.
no. Right.
No,
Because I came from, you guys know, if anyone's watched,
you're a journalist.
Yes.
Exactly. And we turned quickly, and I had an idea. So I kind of then thought, did I mess this up? I did talk to somebody. I didn't know anyone in the industry, but I did talk to somebody that knew somebody that said, here's the deal. As a writer, you take all the time they give you. You want to take the time because you might want to massage it and wake up and have a different idea. And that just wasn't how I did it.
Right.
I just wanted to give them what was in my heart and, kind of what came off the page. So I think it was a week later, I got a call to come back in. Okay. And I'm like, okay, but that was it. Just like, oh yeah, come on in. We want to chat type of thing. So I go in, and I remember they kind of slid this piece of paper across the table, like one of those, like if they were making you an offer and it's face down. They go, what is this? And I look at them. Oh, that's my one sheet. That's really a 3 sheet, a 3 page. And they're like, we gave you one note, and you didn't really do it. And I'm like, yeah, no, that didn't really seem to work, because when I thought of Toni being a strong, powerful, amazing woman, I just didn't see that as working. And they all kind of look at each other. And as soon as I said it out loud, I realized, yeah, as a screenwriter, it's my job to follow notes. This is actually a network, wow. But I was being honest, and they said, well, and that's why out of the 100 she looked at, she picked yours. And that's how I got
it. That's amazing.
I know it's a long story, but I tell it because I know a lot of folks watching. You guys love the behind the scenes.
Yes.
I don't tell that story very often. I always am promoting my projects, and we all love to promote, but I love how you have actors, directors, everybody on that shares those secrets that nobody knows. And I love being vulnerable and telling you I didn't really know what I was doing.
Yeah.
But then as I walked out, they needed it quickly. It was for that year. I also had just signed a deal with HarperCollins to write my first novel, an entire novel, in 3 months to get out for also that year. So I'm going to have 2 Christmas movies and a novel come out in the same year. And I remember getting into the car, it was like an Uber. And I remember just going like, oh my gosh, what have I done here? And then it hit me that not only was I dealing with one of the most iconic stars that I had looked up to, Toni Braxton, not just as an amazing singer, actor, director, as a businesswoman, sort of just this woman, which now I'm writing for her. Remember, the other 2 I sold were spec scripts, meaning I sat here by myself, writing, gave it in, lots of changes happen, magic is made, you see it. This time, I'm literally writing from scratch, collaborating with the star, who's the executive producer, with her manager, who's an executive producer, with the studio executives that I've just met. So there's going to be a lot of people. And can we put the cherry on top that I'm taking on the most beloved, I believe, Christmas classic of all times, A Christmas Carol.
Right.
Absolutely.
I'm going to be yet doing another adaptation of the most beloved, and so I was like, okay, so to me, it was such a learning, growing experience. And to fast forward through what you're so graciously letting me share today is that just a few days ago, the book, Every Day is Christmas, came out. This is a story. I saved it. I kept the book rights. I do that, as much as I can when it's my original story, so I can do this. But you guys know, I know you've been, we've been talking about it, but with the writer's strike, I'm a member of WGA as a writer. I'm also a member of SAG-AFTRA, but I'm on the AFTRA side, which is a TV performer. I was worked in Boston NBC as an anchor. That's how I'm AFTRA. So I'm not an actor. I can talk about projects because I'm not the SAG side of SAG-AFTRA. Although I'm still, 100% out there. I want our deal because we're all the same family. Yeah. But that said, so Every Day is Christmas. All of a sudden, I wasn't going to do a Christmas movie this year because I had a couple other projects. A Christmas novel, because I had a couple other projects. But May 1st, when we voted, and May 2nd was pens down and no selling, no pitching screenplays. I was so ready to go this year after COVID, after some family health issues with some family members. I had 5 spec scripts. I had a TV pilot. I was ready. I had my stuff in different places. I was just so set up, ready to go. And when it all came down, like for so many of us, I just felt, I don't know, I can't even explain it. It just felt so lost. We write at least I do as a therapy. And all of a sudden, this story that has saved me, because I don't watch my other Christmas movies because, I'm sure a lot of performers will tell you this, writers, creatives, you make it, you put your heart and love into it, but then you watch it and you find things wrong, or you find things you wish you would have written differently.
It's hard to watch.
But but this one, you guys, Every Day is Christmas, I watch every year about this time, because it's all about what really matters most. And it's about, really taking that moment. It really looks into the workaholic, because remember, a Scrooge-like story. And so Tony Braxton, and I have to tell you a little secret. How did I fix Tony Braxton looking amazing, wearing designer throughout our movie when she's a Scrooge? So I thought about it. I'm like, you're right. There is no impossible thing when you're a writer. We get to use our imaginations. We get to be creative. It's what we're paid to do.
Right.
And so I thought about it, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to make her a really kick butt money manager, right? She's just going to be a money manager. She's going to own her own financial firm. That's, the nod, not even a loose nod to the Scrooge.
Yeah.
And so the very first day she comes in, and one of the, young people working for her says, something like, wow, those shoes she's wearing cost more than I make in a month. And the other executive that's been there longer said, Alexis, that's Tony Braxton. It says, Alexis says, to make money, you've got to look like money.
Yeah.
And that one line allowed me to make Tony look amazing, even though she was Scrooge-like and really, money and all of that.
Right.
So this is my therapy during the strike. I started May 2nd. Usually my books are already up for sale by May 2nd, because again, I wasn't going to do them this year.
Yeah.
And I literally took the screenplay and I set it down, and you think, well, if I saw the movie, Karen, why do I need the book? Because as you all know, if I'd written the book first, so much gets cut. And there was so much about her character and about the other characters' development that I really wanted to develop. And I didn't change anything. So it's a really fun one to watch. I didn't all of a sudden cut scenes or do that. I just added more to
more. Yes.
Which was special. And what's so much fun about this is I got to go on that set, and I'll stop talking about this. And if you want to hear more about being on set, I can talk about that. But this crystal heart ornament's really important in the movie. So I literally took a screen grab and sent it to my cover designer and said, okay, all my covers usually have a place you go. Little snowy house. They always have a dog. They're very specific to my brand. But this year, there's no house. There's no snow. There's no dog, because the movie's set in Atlanta. And there's no snow in this movie. There is no, it's Scrooge. There is no Caroline. There's carolers that she looks at like, please be quiet or I'm going to kill you. Right. But there's not my traditional theme. So I didn't have a traditional cover, but this is magic. So she did such a beautiful job, Kristen did, with this. And then, let's see, where is it? Oh yeah. Okay. So then I got it created like the movie, the same crystal heart. So I'm doing all these giveaways now. You guys know my website, KarenSchaler.com. Don't forget to follow on social, and I'm giving them away so it matches. But one of the inspirations for doing this is when I got to the movie set, I hadn't, you don't get introduced. It's not like that. They're shooting. There's usually 16 days. It's go, go, go. I am staying out of the way. Yeah. But I'm staying to the side, and this really, nice looking young man is standing there, and he seems really kind of distressed. And he's saying, there's a house where I say, it's a beautiful Christmas house with lights and those LED angels, the gold LED angels in the yard. And he's like, I don't know where I'm going to find, I can't find LED angels. I don't know, how am I going to get these? Who writes LED angels? And he's going kind of on about this ridiculous thing that as a set designer, and he's looking around, and I don't know how, but he caught my eye, and I'm looking away, and he's like, you're the writer, aren't you? and then I also heard from the executives, they were having a really hard time with the Crystal Heart, because it had to be special. It had to be amazing. I mean, it couldn't just be some cheapie. They found some things that didn't look good, especially translated onto film. So I believe that it was made specifically for the movie. And so it was sort of a nod to that too, that I know this Crystal Heart was not an easy one to get. And it was such a fun memory on that. So so this year I decided, while I was on strike and while I couldn't pitch and do what I love to do, I could bring a story to life that is one of my all-time favorite stories that I've ever written. And it also has such a good message about where we are in the world and work-life balance and all of that type of thing. I thought it was great for now. And isn't it funny that I saved it for 5 years, right? Didn't know when I would write it, but this was the year. So it's such a special story to me, and it's just come out, and I love it. And I know that sounds weird, like to love your own project, but I love that I have a memory now of writing it during the strike. What I didn't love is writing it as fast as I did and trying to do 6 times the work in a very short amount of time. That was not fun. Nope, that was not fun at
A lot
all.
of stress.
That was so much stress. And then of course, as you guys talked about when talking about coloring book, I'm laughing because that is also the strike's fault. I'm kidding, but since I'm on strike, well, yeah, what do we talk about? Like AI, right? Actors,
Right.
we're still dealing with that. And so I feel like the devil, is in, you need to know what's happening. And so it all started when I was using one of the art AI sites, one of the ones that isn't supposedly not stealing, from other artists and all of that kind of stuff. But I wanted to see how powerful it is. How threatened is this for graphic artists, for writers? So I asked for like Santa reading a book by the fire so I could use it for a social media post when my book came out. And then it was cute. It took like 70 times because Santa will have one leg or one arm. It's quirky. But I finally got it. And then I said, oh, okay, add a dog sitting next to Santa by the fire, because I always have dogs. Only it came up a dog face. So now Santa has a Labrador Retriever face. And I was laughing so hard. I was like, this is so ridiculous. But actually, I'm going to put them up on Zazzle, because then I said, do it with a Sheltie. Do it with a poodle. And I have all of these Santa dogs that are a dog with their paws and legs in Santa suits sitting there reading. It is the fun. It's like it's back in the old days, your parents would know it, but those dogs that play poker.
Yeah.
Classic. It's that type of thing where they look human, but they're dogs. So it was crazy, but it was really, at the time, I'm like, okay, so I was a little bit fascinated with the artist side of it. And then on TikTok, they were talking about, we're all trying to eat, all of us are trying to make a living, and we're struggling. I'm one of the ones that lost my health care. It's just hard. And so there was this crazy TikTok that was about, put all your traits that you do and how much money you want to spend, and they'll tell you how you can make money. So I saw some people do this. So I was like, okay, so I gave it my traits. I said, I want to spend $100 and make $10,000 in 3 months, right? I'm like, okay, let's just see what TikTok tells me. Excuse me, AI. So it was a TikTok telling us to do AI. And the number one thing that came up was adult coloring book. I was like, well, that's just crazy. I don't know anything about, I just know. So I forgot about it. And then I was doing another TikTok and somebody said, oh, have you ever made a Christmas coloring book? That'd be beautiful. You've done movies, you've done this, you've done that. You haven't done a coloring book, have you? So the coloring book just kept coming up. And I thought, oh, I can do this in a week or two. I reached out to my artist, and she was like, and I'll show you, so here it is. It's called Color Your Christmas Dreams. Yes, it's real, because I am that crazy. So but I want to show you the little mouse guy.
Oh my
God.
This
was kind of part of the Santa problem, where I was trying to do, something like in a sweater, and next thing you know, it was a mouse in a sweater, and it kind of got me thinking how cute it was. And then I really, like the angel, like really beautiful different ones. So I reached out to my designer and said, to see how much it would be, how long it would be. And she goes, yeah, that mouse, that would take me weeks unless I use AI. She goes, are you already using AI? And I'm like, you're already using AI? She goes, yeah. She goes, there's one thing when you just get something generic, and there's another, you'll spend days and hours even using AI. It's just like a new material way. So with all of that, with designers and trying to do that, this little quick side hustle project that was supposed to be a weekend and kind of a fun thing to give out at my Christmas camps and stuff, and to give to you guys, and just, to de-stress, it was going to be 30 pages. Then it was 60. It's 120. because then I'm like, well, I'm a writer. Shouldn't we have quotes? Like really cool holiday quotes like this one. Christmas isn't a season, it's a feeling, by Edna Ferber. And there's one by Ben Franklin. There's all these holiday quotes. So then I'm sourcing quotes. So yeah, but all of this came from adversity, I think sparks, ingenuity. Yeah. And to me, it's fuel. And I'm sure you're hearing similar stories. And I hope that we all, can be creative in different ways and bring joy. That's the hope. That's the hope.
Right.
I love that. Yeah, it's really inspiring to hear your story. Even with the movie originally, like you followed your instincts, and that's what kind of got all this rolling in. So you didn't, you followed what your heart was telling you to do, and look what's happening. So it's amazing. It's very inspiring.
Well, thank you. And I think, anyone that's listening, I think that's one of the most important things. And I know you guys have such amazing actors on, and I love listening to their stories. I love listening to the struggles and how they, wait for the right audition and, all of that. And then they finally get their break. And one thing I think, especially as writers, whether it's novels or movies, there's things that'll trend. But if you're following a trend because you're trying to sell, because you go, oh, Hallmark's buying school teacher ones or musical ones or this. But first of all, by the time you write it and by the time it gets pitched, there's going to be a new trend. So you've missed your boat. I remember I had a romantic comedy, and this was way back in the day, and I had written it, and then Bridesmaids came out and, got all this attention, but it was definitely rated R, more raunchy comedy and all of that. So mine was more, a Pretty Woman-esque or even more PG-13, kind of Sleepless in Seattle type stuff. And I remember there was a big Hollywood person that said, well, can you make it more like Bridesmaids? And I'm like, well, I could. It's not really my jam, but I could, because you want to show, I was thinking, okay, and I wasn't even sure, because I didn't know at that time. I knew who I was as a writer, and I can write comedy, I can write dramedy. I know there's things I want to write. And so I started writing it, but I realized, first of all, that story wasn't made to be that way. It didn't start off as a comedy. You can't just throw it in. Just like writers right now, you're seeing so many Christmas movies. Remember when we first started doing this, there was only a certain amount, and there were only a certain amount of production companies that were doing them over and over. Now everybody's doing Christmas movies, and they're literally taking a script that's 7 years old that is not Christmas. And I've had people ask, they're just throwing in a tree, and they're throwing in a tree lighting, and they're calling it Christmas. And then they wonder why it doesn't resonate. And you watch it, and it has to start. The Christmas is a main character. It has to start from the beginning. And it was the same with my script. I couldn't go in and just infuse that. And by the time I did, that trend had moved on. So if anyone is, listening to this, the one thing I try to tell them is write what's in your heart. We all have stories, and don't try to follow trends. And if you're doing a period piece and they're like, nobody's doing those anymore, well, I'm sure that's what they told the writer of Bridgerton when she was doing her book series.
But look at their
and nobody wants rom-coms for the longest time. I mean, when Christmas Prince blew up, and this, like The Summer I Turned Pretty, all these beautiful stories that we were told forever that nobody wants that kind of story. Boom. Now they do. So we all have a story to tell. The one thing I encourage is tell what's authentic to you, what's real to you. Find a thread. I was just doing a talk with a really great screenwriter, an up-and-coming screenwriter looking to break in, and she has so much passion. She has a really interesting backstory, and she was wondering if she should stay away from that, and because you live that, and sometimes you want to write as your escape. But I really told her to lean in, because what they'll say in Hollywood is there's 1,000 of us writers, and they'll say, why you, why this story?
Right.
So if you don't have a personal connection, I think the reason I watch this every year, and if you guys haven't seen it, and I was not WGA at the time, I was Writers Guild Canada. I'm American, but I wanted to get in the union really bad, and they wouldn't make it Writers Guild a WGA movie because it's much more expensive to make it that, and there's residuals paid for, which we know has been a big thing. But they were great to me and said, hey, if you're really just worried about these issues, we'll make it Writers Guild Canada, because we're shooting in Canada. And even though as an American, I could join the guild, and so I did, but that meant no residuals. So when I tell everyone, listening to go and watch the movie, it's like $3.99 on Amazon Prime, so you don't have to wait for it to come up. But it's funny, it'll say Amazon Prime HD. I don't even know if it was shot in HD, so I just clicked to the SD and saved the $1. But I don't get, I tell this, I do not get residuals. I'm not getting a kickback for telling y'all. But the reason I say that is I'm probably the most proud, different reasons of different movies, of that one, because it was the first one that I started from scratch. It was a true collaboration with a lot of people, learning as a writer, not just my voice and changing it, but learning everybody's voices, taking the notes, putting it together. And then I got to go on, it's the first time I got to go on set, and I learned so much from the director, so much from the cinematographer, to be able to listen and watch, and how my words, how they bring them to life. The actors, the first time I heard the actors read my words, in person, different than seeing it on a screen, I literally got chills, because it was just, the cast was amazing. We had Gloria Rubin, we had Michael J. White, we had Toni Braxton. I mean, the whole entire cast, the way, that's what they do, but the way they bring the words to life and made it so much better. And just, it's like they were in my head. And it was the biggest blessing that I've ever had, to be able to go on that set and have this movie. And it was a really hard time in my life. I had lost my grandfather a day before I showed up on set. Nobody knew it. I didn't tell anybody. But there was a hospital scene in the movie, and I had just come from a hospital, and I was praying, please don't let that be what, I was there a couple days on the set, and I was praying that that's not the scene we'd be shooting when I got there, and it wasn't. But I remember sitting on the floor of the ER for my grandpa, and the producers called, and there's a scene in the movie, this was not giving anything away, but it has to do with jewelry, and it was supposed to be in a jewelry store. And kind of that fun scene from like Sweet Home Alabama type with the jewelry
Yeah.
store and, you know, and all of that. And so all of a sudden I got a call saying, we lost the jewelry store last minute. What can we do? What ideas do you have? We're thinking of this. And I, you know, just having that person come to the house, I go, yeah, that's way more luxurious and high class. When you're really wealthy, you don't go to them, they come to you. I love that idea. Can you write it? So I sat on the floor, stuff's happening. It's just, and wrote that scene. And then to leave that, and I don't know if I've ever told anybody this, you know, but to leave that and go to set and just try, it's, you know, writing's an escape. All of it's an escape. I had not processed what had happened, you know, with my grandfather, but I felt like work has been where I hide. Work is where I shut off the pain. Work is where, you know, it's where I go. I think that's a lot of us. And that's what the story is about. It's about somebody that hides in work, you know, just a Scrooge. I mean, we know that, just like a Grinch is actually like that. You know, you hide from pain in your actions, your work. In this case, it's work and being a success. So I literally was living the story, even though I didn't realize it. So now when Christmas comes around, and a few of the lines that I won't give away, they're in the book and the movie, it really resonates. So if you're someone that's busy and you're running around and you have family and kids and you're trying to juggle it all, it's like why I developed Christmas Camp, right? A place to go to relax, reset before the holidays. This is the easiest way, an hour and a half, to bring it all together. And the early reviewers that you know went on NetGalley, reviewed for me, which you guys know reviews are everything. I ask anyone that reads, please, because it helps people find the book. They're connecting with it. And you know, you just don't know, especially when it's a movie. You just don't know. Is this going to be okay? Or people, and especially when it's you're doing a Christmas Carol. I'll be honest, it's the one. I mean, this is my 7th book, you guys. Is that nuts? Since I've been talking to you, but it's the one I was most nervous about. You know, because I think maybe because it's so close, the story's so close to me, and who knew that it would be? When I wrote that, I never knew that I would be, you know, living a part of it that I didn't even realize. So I think that's what makes it special as a writer. I mean, that's why we love to share with you. And so when someone reads the book or watches the movie, they get that backstory and go, okay, I see that. And now it maybe means a little bit more.
Don't you think that those life experiences bring depth to your writing, though? You have so much experience as, you know, as a journalist before you got there. And in some ways, like just hearing you tell this story, that gave you a leap into this movie, because you can turn things around. It's sometimes the things you do seem like they don't go together, and then there they are paying out for you because you have that skill set.
You know, Julie, that is probably the most eloquently way I've ever heard anyone put that together, including my own head. So I wish you could just record that so I can play that to myself. Because
we'll clip that for you.
Yeah, you know, but I mean it, because when we're all struggling, when we're in it, and we're like, oh, like right now, I'm telling you, this sounds insane, right? You're like, okay, you know, I'm a screenwriter. That you had me on for the first time. I'm a screenwriter. But then I decided to write the novel because I wanted to write novels of my books, and then now I'm doing a coloring book. You know, but remember, Christmas Camp, my Hallmark movie was a Christmas Camp movie. Yeah. I did the books, and I love the idea of a place to go for grown-ups, a Christmas camp where you'd reset, take off the phone, and really learn what matters most at Christmas. Again, the overarching theme that I created one. I mean, I'm sitting here because I was just talking to someone about a Christmas camp. I have my hat. I don't have my mug here, but I have clothes. I have everything. I trademark it. I turned it into real. I had at a hotel where, whether it's a weekend, 10 days, just working on one for 12 days of the Christmas camp, where you come and it's all these activities during, you know, from breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You come for a day, you come 5 days, you come for however you want. I'm doing them at hotels and resorts around the world. I'm doing them at destinations as like pop-ups, and you feel like you're living in a movie. And what's awesome is so my travel, you mentioned travel therapy. Exactly. I've been to 68 countries. And all of a sudden I'm like, pick the Christmas camp that's best for you. My first one was in Phoenix, Arizona. So it's in the desert. So people left the cold, snowy, icky weather and wanted to come lay by the pool for Christmas, you know, or the Christmas time. And this one I was just talking about doing is at a beach, you know, and the other one's up in the mountains that I'm talking to, you know, another one's the German markets, you know, and the beautiful Christmas markets. And then the whole idea is this camaraderie and coming together. And you wouldn't have thought it goes. And so when I did the coloring book, that's one of my new activities at Christmas camp. Color Your Christmas Dreams is what it's called, where it's as simple as it sounds. You have these beautiful scenes. There's, coloring and cocktails. And so you're coloring, the Christmas music's
Perfect.
on, you're sharing. And it's funny, we did some of the biggest events. Like we did, meaning we had crystal glasses that we did stencils and fancy stuff, right? And then we found something like coloring and cocktails, the Christmas Karen chat, where I basically stand and just say, hey guys, this is what I've done. You want to hear about movies? You want to hear about books? You want to hear about me being a war correspondent? Go. And people get to ask me questions. The simplest things are the ones that people care about the most.
Yeah.
I know I've shared this with you before, but I share it every year because it's sort of my way to remember. And especially, with what had happened with this movie, I wear a little star around my neck. And I got this after my very first movie, A Christmas Prince. And I was writing Christmas camp at the time, and I had a lot of loss in that time.
Yeah.
And I'm so blessed. I hadn't lost anybody. And then it all caught up to me, and I lost a lot of people very quickly and didn't quite know how to process. I think I'm still processing it for sure. So in the Christmas camp movie, not giving anything away, but we specifically, in the novel, in the movie, it was cut. It was one of those things that was cut, which I know Jeff, I've had Jeff when I've been at Rama Drama. I love Jeff. And I don't even ask him why it was cut, because he knows. After he read the book, he goes, oh, you're not going to be happy with some of the stuff we cut. And I'm like, no, I'm happy that you made it. That's why I wrote the book. So the whole story of the screenplay can be in the actual book, just in case.
So
but
read
we
the
talk
book.
Yes, exactly. I tell people, definitely read the Christmas camp book. That's a study I tell kids at college when I speak to colleges. Read the Christmas camp book, because it was written exactly like the screenplay. The screenplay was being shot. A lot changed. That's normal. But when you read the book and watch the movie, you'll see how much things change in Hollywood. And one of the jokes is, if you're precious with your work and you can't collaborate, and if you're going to cry and be upset when, obviously you wouldn't be a screenwriter because it's all about collaboration. But the joke is, hey, you can make your movie and keep all your scenes when you have the millions of dollars. If you don't like it, go be an author.
Right.
Right. And so I'm like, oh, therapy. I love screenwriting, but it's sometimes you want to make sure that it has, the scene. And in the book, what I love so much, so we have the stars. There's a scene where I say, the stars in the sky represent the people that we've loved and lost, always looking down on us, and they're with us always. And that was very important, which is why I wear the star. And I don't even know where it came from, but Julie, exactly what you said. I think what I was going through at the time, I needed to find hope. I needed not to feel so alone. And I think I looked up, and there were stars. And if I could imagine these people that I'd lost as that was going to kind of help me. So I put it into a story thinking, if it helped me, maybe it can help someone else. So at Christmas camp, we had people, it was the first one was in Arizona. It sold out, or the second one sold out, 400 room nights in like a half hour. I mean, people resonated with the idea of coming to feel like you're starring in a movie. And every year it's different. Of course, COVID, we paused, and we've been paused to be safe and, and all of that. But every story I bring in, so every Christmas camp has the new stuff and the old stuff. But for Christmas camp, we had hot cocoa and s'mores outside. We set up chairs to represent the people that we've lost that are with us. And we had an astronomer come and tell us about the Christmas star and do all of these different things with a telescope. And there was a young gal, gosh, she was probably like 22 years old. She had taken time off of work. She came all the way from the East Coast to Arizona for that night. She only could stay one night because she read the story. It resonated with her personally, and she wanted to be a part of that ceremony.
Wow.
And so, and simple, right? Did we have fancy $1,000 things? And, and of course we have movie night where we watch the movies in pajamas, and we have all of that. And this year, working on a bunch of things that we had Christmas karaoke and Christmas camp bingo and, Christmas yoga, Christmas camp yoga to Christmas music. We just keep adding more and more and more. And so, and ideally I'll have some news for you, coming up, because I had one planned we were planning one for this year, the 12, that's a lot, 12 days. It was a lot. It was all ready to go. And then for a lot of different reasons, you guys know me, I'm a perfectionist. And so I thought people have come from all over and they're waiting to go to the next Christmas camp. So we're just putting a pin in it, and we're going to do it next year because we're going to make it even bigger than we thought. And so, yeah, I know it's exciting. And then meanwhile, 6 other properties, I'm talking to, and Christmas in July is a thing. So I'm talking to 2 properties about doing that. So I hope to be able to bring that. And it's so much fun. I tell everybody, make sure they follow me on Karen Schaler. because that sign for the newsletter. I only send it out once or twice a year. You guys know I'm not one of those spammers. And before I forget, I know we have more to talk about, but before I forget, I'm doing this again, but only for like the next 3 weeks, because I am going to be traveling. But people were sad that they couldn't meet me at Christmas camp and they couldn't get autographs. We can only go to so many things. And so first of all, on my website, I have a Christmas camp DIY guide. And every year I update it. So you said, I got that 2 years ago, but I put new recipes because the books always have recipes and activities from the story. And so make sure you download that. It's completely free. It's getting to be like 30 pages. When it started, it was like 5 pages because it was just, here's the cookie recipe and the cocktail recipe,
Pretty soon you're going to be publishing that.
Julie. I mean, I'm like, this thing's getting really big, And then what I'm doing, and it was actually another author that gave me the idea. So, total kudos. She's like, well, why don't you just have people send you a self-addressed stamped envelope, because it's hard to get everybody's address. And then you can sign personalized book plates and give them your bookmarks. Now, you guys are very well aware. And I tell everyone, the authors out there, thank you for teaching me, and the readers, y'all love your bookmarks. It's a thing. Like, I didn't know, but you collect them. I even made a spot where I can autograph them. That's the new book.
Perfect.
There's some of my other books.
Yeah.
So right now on my website, you can just go on the homepage, scroll down till you see this book cover, and send me your self-addressed stamped envelope. And I have people, and it's great. If you want to give them as gifts and autographs, they'll send me 10 names. I'll sign them. I'll put the bookmarks. To me, it's the gift that keeps giving. I love it. And I just had a pop-up Christmas camp 2 days ago. And on that note, it was a local library. I'm super close to libraries. Also, everyone go to your library and you get the books for free.
I saw those pictures. Yes.
Yes. And if they don't have it, if the book library doesn't have it, because I tell everybody, get it free. I did. I love libraries. I love libraries. But if they don't have it, ask for it, because libraries are awesome. They will order it for you.
Yep.
So just ask them. They would love to do that for you. And thank you. You saw the pictures on Facebook. Mine's Karen Schaler Official on Facebook. The thing that just touched my heart so much, there was a mother-daughter in 2018. We did like the movie had just come out. We did like a soft kind of thing. We didn't tell anybody, but we still had people, and they loved it. And she was supposed to come the following year to 2019, but her mom was involved in a really bad car accident. And so I hadn't seen her until she showed up at the library and surprised me, because the majority of people that came to Christmas camp were not from Arizona. They came from all over the country. A couple of people came from like Canada and some other places. So to see her, at first I didn't, when there's a bunch of people and how your brain kind of goes when you see a crowd. And then she's real quiet. And then she was like, I was one of your first Christmas campers, and I'm the one that got hurt. And we sent her a huge care package. Which was that care package, helped me when I was in the hospital. It made me so happy because she was so excited to come to the second one. And then there was another mother and daughter that was at the 2019 one, and they drove, and they were so funny. They're like, do you know how far we drove for this? But because I told people I was going to be announcing a Christmas camp, not at that event, but I said, stay tuned, big announcement about Christmas camp, and they wanted to make sure that they attended. And it was fun because at the library, the librarian, Elisa, she's amazing. And the way I met her, talk about serendipity, is a whole nother story that you just can't even, make up. And she hosted this, and it was her idea, to have it at the library, not a bookstore, which is where I usually do things. And I love that. I really love that, to be honest, even more, because then you're not asking people to buy, you're encouraging them to read and, and go to the library. And she just said the love in that room and the happiness, I can't explain it. And you guys know, because that's why you do what you do.
Yeah.
Right. When you meet the actors, it's something about the love, the people that truly love Christmas and love these uplifting, feel good, kinds of movies that are safe and warm and family. It just brings love, and it just brings this camaraderie that we don't see, I don't think, anywhere else. People go, why do you always write Christmas? And I'm like, because I love it, and that family. And yes, I have other things. I have a TV pilot that, that I'm working on. I have lots of other things. I don't talk about them, because it was during COVID and things are on hold, or they're in the works, so to speak, as you always hear that for the actors too,
Right.
And I'll be really excited to tell you when I actually can talk about it. I'm one that I've learned, don't say anything, because I love to talk, as you know. And if I start giving hints, I get myself in trouble. But I think seeing the Christmas campers, it was very healing, because I realized what I created was a community, and I miss them. Just like I miss you guys, we're family now. Like we have become, don't you feel that with all
part of that community?
Interviews?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I want to ask you guys a question for both of you. Why did you start the podcast? Why does this bring you joy to help share our stories?
you know, we started out of a fan account, and we were doing lives and loved the community. So then
It
we
really was the community, right? Wouldn't you say at first, Julie?
absolutely
Like, we just really enjoyed, um,
connecting.
making connections with people and hearing people's stories and opinions and,
Mhm.
being able to be a voice for that too. And it just naturally kind of evolved into a podcast, and once we started, we're like, "Yeah, no, we love this," because,
Yeah,
we love hearing people's stories, and I think I find it super inspiring, and everybody that we talk to always there's something that just, sticks with you.
right. And we
Yeah,
run a conversation style podcast,
yeah,
which is a little different than other people's, and we get often very unique stories because of that. Where
Exactly.
like you can say whatever you want, you can
absolutely.
talk about your
Yeah,
projects or whatever, and we like getting to know people, like that connection. And the podcast is broad. We broaden it now. We even have musicians and stuff, and it's those connections. So it's just always so fun. We get done, and we're always like, they're amazing.
yes,
You know,
yes,
I
But you are, and I mean, remember, I was on the other side of it as a reporter, right? As a journalist for
right.
many years. But you bring it out in people because I always tell stories here I never tell anywhere else. I love being with you because you have this open and you encourage us. You encourage us to share whatever we feel like that's
right.
in our heart. And that's when we're going to tell you, what really matters to us, what's we're passionate.
Mhm.
And I think that resonates, and when you can be real and authentic, you always know somebody when they're on a junket and they're like, yes, I wrote a Christmas Prince. It was inspired by my trip. And then, yes, I wrote a Christmas Prince. And yes, I wrote a Christmas Prince. I mean, you're just like, oh my goodness, I've heard that story. And I know I'm a storyteller. So it might be easier for me to tell a story literally or to talk. Although, as you guys know, a lot of writers, I didn't know this because the journalists, we're out there, we're interviewing
Right.
people, we're talking, we're on camera, at least the television journalists are, and we're very outgoing. I mean, it's our
Right.
nature because we connect with different people every day. We have to go into a scene and immediately make a connection and get an interview and get it back for 5, 6,
Mhm.
and 11 o'clock that night. We've got to
Right.
work very quickly. But, a lot of writers write because they're shy. I mean, they don't want to be
Mhm.
in front of the camera. They don't want to be anywhere near people. I mean, literally, I have a friend that's like, back off, everybody. I want to be my quiet,
Yeah.
my recluse. And that's a little harder. So I always joke, some of the writers said, well, thanks for speaking up for writers because I don't watch it. Like one of my friends, like, I would be terrified to do a podcast. And I'm like, you just tell
No.
your story. And
Yes.
you guys remember Jenny Hale. You know
Yeah.
how amazing Jenny is. When I
Right.
met Jenny, who, for those of you that don't know, you need to read her books because many of her books are Hallmark movies. She's amazing. And the first Rama drama I did, Gabrielle and Sarah were asking if there were any other authors that to them, which was why I loved it, is all about authenticity and it's
Yes.
going to be great with fans and real, honest, hardworking people. And we were in Nashville and Jenny is from Nashville. And I only knew her through Twitter because my publisher I was going to have was her publisher. And they said, you two should meet. You remind me of each other, your energy and all of that.
Mhm.
But it turns out while she's very prolific, like I am, she's quiet. She's
Mhm.
not going to be chattering nonstop like me. She's more quiet. She's so smart, so charismatic. So I couldn't believe it. She has more than 1 million books sold, 1 million, you guys. And she had not done a panel before.
Wow.
So when I asked her, she was a little like, and
Mhm.
guess what? Since she's done it, now she's out there talking, doing it. And she had already started her own publishing company. She's amazing. She's going
Yeah.
on TV
Yeah.
because someone gave her an opportunity to tell her truth, to tell her story. And as soon as she saw it was a live audience, which sometimes is scary, right?
Mhm.
Because it's not, you don't see. But when people were fascinated and leaned in, it's so funny. I saw her from being kind of literally sitting back in her chair, literally, to by the end leaning in toward
Oh,
the people.
yes.
And it was so amazing,
Love
and it was
that.
just like, and Nancy Nagel, of course,
Yes.
Nancy and
Yes.
I, and Jenny
For
as well, we do podcasts ourselves. I mean, you guys, I mean, it's just, there's so much that we try to do to kind of help and give back.
Mhm.
And she's a force too. Check out her books too. So when I'm up here, I'm like, I'm going to promote other people's works that are in my lane as well, because there's a group of us, they actually write books. They have not written screenplays, but they write beautiful books that have been adapted.
Right.
And it's really fun to see how their stories, but they're good people too. So if you want to support authors that you know, kind of have a recommendation, you will not be let down by these stories, especially both of the women I can talk about, because that's the ones I've read since meeting them. The last few years, they even say, you know, I think you always say it's your best because you're growing. You know, every movie is ideally a project. You try. I'm sure it's not always perfect trajectory, but you definitely try. But both women have told me that their stories are so special. So you can look them up, Jenny Hale and Nancy Nagel. And even on my links and like Instagram, I started one of those linked trees. So all these things I tell you are in one place. And somebody encouraged me to do an Amazon shop. So they are free. I forgot to mention this. A lot of their stories, like some of mine now, are free in Kindle Unlimited. And 2 of my stories are up for $1.99. My last year's book is up. Yes, limited time. But I put the reason it's cool is the first 3 chapters of the new book is in it. So that way, yes, I added it. So you don't have to like, I'm not saying that you're not going to love this, but that way you get a book for $1.99, and then you get the first 3 chapters of the ebook. And if you like it, you just go push, and then it immediately takes you. Of course, it's very creative on Amazon, the way they want you to buy it. But it was actually Jenny. I think it was Jenny's idea. I'm not sure whose idea it was, because it's smart. Because then you can sample it and see if that's a story that speaks to your heart. And that, I remember Nora Roberts when I was growing up, man, that worked every time. But that was the day when you had to wait. They'd put it in the book and then you waited 8 months.
Right, you had to wait for it to come out, right?
Yes, remember? Like, I am dating myself, but yes, I would be like, I can't wait. So I almost wouldn't read it. That's how I do on all the shows. Like if I'm watching The Bachelor or something, I'll let it record 6 of them, so I'm not waiting. I don't want to be a hostage. I can't. I'm too important.
We also do not like being hostage. We just want to plow through them all.
We just need all the stuff we need it. Yeah.
So I want to know, what are you binging right now? What shows are you guys? Are you into the Christmas yet, or what are you guys doing?
Christmas starts today and then Friday.
Friday.
I know.
We're promoting Friday's movie on Hallmark. Hallmark kicks off on Friday, countdown for Christmas.
Yeah, second it twice.
I've been promoting them. Oops, sorry, don't hit my glass table. I've been promoting them too. I was just on a local TV and telling them all about Hallmark before, you know, this is next week. So
right.
Yeah.
I kind of love that you have authors that you're promoting too. Like most readers, we will like go through a variety of authors that are like similar. We're on a style, and so we'll love getting those recommendations. Sheila's saying Nancy Nagel's amazing, right? So
and Sheila Roberts too. And you know where I met Sheila Roberts? You know, who's in my age group. She's not a 20-something, you know, and Sheila would be fine with me saying that, but she's on TikTok, which I loved. You know, don't count us out because book talk is a thing.
I was just going to say, if you're not on TikTok, or if you are on TikTok, go find Karen. Karen is posting very regularly on TikTok, and even your coloring book on TikTok. Some nice posts there. So go find her there.
Oh, and I have to share, because this is who I was telling you I was talking to a talented screenwriter right before us. I was this, and I don't know, because it's hard to show. I think I did a stitch. I think I'm saying that right, where, you know, it's a little picture of me and a little picture. This lovely influencer, like 2 million followers, you know, and my goodness, she's an amazing mom. She has an autistic, nonverbal son. So she has a lot. She has a lot going on in her life. Very busy. On her own, I mean, I got tagged in it. They talk about the power of community. She did the most beautiful video, like a 2-minute video of the coloring book, and talked about how I was a writer on strike and how she wanted to support that, and that, you know, words matter, and she thought it was beautiful. And she just did that just because, you know, people like that are paid thousands and thousands of dollars to even show a book in like a background like this, you know, and the kindness for her to do that. And so I reached out and I asked if I could send her one, because I know she, even though it's an adult coloring book, if you had a teenager, you know, it's like, you know, not hard, but it's not for little teeny kids. Although they could do it too. They just color out of the lines, which I'm all about, just so you know. But I offered, I said, you know, as a thank you, could I please, you know, send you, because I said, can I send you the book, or can I send you? She goes, no, I already bought the book too. I want to support you. I don't even know her. She's amazing. So she is such a, you know, that's when I see stories like that. And when I got on TikTok, it was about, originally it's funny, it was this time last year, and I'm like, I want to show my book and do what the other book talkers are doing. Right. So people know about it. Like I thought, this is awesome. But I tried to do all this creative stuff because I'm creative. I'm like, and then I realized, yeah, my video wasn't like anybody's video, which I thought was good, but TikTok only likes people that do the same thing that the algorithms like.
Right.
So then I was like, oh, so finally I gave up. I mean, they're there and they're fun, but you know, they weren't, I didn't know if they were reaching enough people or if I wasn't doing it right. But I was started getting, when I mentioned a Christmas Prince, I got 220,000, you know, views like instantly. I got all my followers that I have now instantly, and probably 75 questions.
Wow.
And so I was like, and all I did is, 5 things you didn't know, and you know, about a Christmas Prince, because I thought I'm going to do a movie one and a book one, and that one is the one that blew up. So I decided during the strike, because again, it was really hard, and I walk every morning no matter what, because it gets hard to put on makeup. You know, you're just sitting here as a writer, and my hair's in a ponytail, and so I wasn't recording any TikToks or anything. And on a walk, an alert came up that somebody had asked me a question, and I looked, and I'm like, okay, fine. So I just pushed the TikTok and answered the question, and I'm just walking, you know, didn't plan it. And it kind of blew up, and then people ask more, and then people ask more. So now you hear, that's what I say on TikTok, you guys. It's Karen Schaler. I literally answer your questions. I talk about writing books. I talk about writing novels. I talk about everything from behind the scenes, about the fun little stories of actors, how to get agents, managers, all that stuff. I just answer questions. And isn't it funny? You try to create this amazing content. Nobody cares. But you have to be of service. And that's when I realized it's not about me going, buy my coloring book, which I wasn't doing. I think you guys know I wouldn't. But I'm putting that up as, hey, this is new. And if this is something you like, and here's a look. No, but you can be of service. I might have been on strike and feeling like I wasn't doing what I love to do, and, you know, really being bummed about that. But guess what? I have knowledge. There's a lot of people out there. And like I said, nobody taught me. You guys, every day you bring people on that are helping other people. Every time I hear about an actor, I love the success stories, kind of those, you know, the underdog stories right before they make it big. Those are my favorite. I lean in every time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fun to hear about the latest projects, of course. And I want to know, because you get a fan favorite, you know, and you're like, oh, I want to know, and what are you doing? And then you get to hear some juicy, fun behind the scenes, little things, right? It could be about, we had to wear a Christmas sweater when it was 110 degrees. Or, the dog ran away and we had to find him for 2 days. I mean, those are fun.
They fell on the dog. We heard that one too.
I mean, there's just so many fun stories like that. So, I mean, you guys, what you do, I appreciate it so much. Honestly, you're a tradition at the holidays, and I love you guys. I love the whole team, Catherine, everyone, you know, on board behind the scenes too. You guys really make magic, and thank you for letting all of us share our stories.
We're just thankful that you come on and talk with us. Yes.
we love it. So tell us what your new book is, and then everywhere people can find you.
Thank you. I love that. So first of all, find me, because I love connecting with everybody. If you go to my website at karenschaler.com, that's probably the easiest one-stop shopping. Go on the homepage, and right away you can see where you can get the free download for the Christmas Camp DIY. It also has links to all the places you can buy my book. Short version, you can buy both of my coloring books and my novels everywhere online. In bookstores, that's not as big a thing as it was when my first one came out. So I'm Walmart, Target. Thrift Books, by the way, always has great deals. I love thrift books. Barnes and Noble, Amazon, of course. You know, you can't beat, you know, for a quick turnaround, you know, for that. And it goes down the line. There's Books A Millions, The Strand. Support your indie bookstores for sure. If they don't have it, ask it. Libraries. So thank you for asking. But I think my website's easy because I have all those links that you can just link on quickly. And then with the books, so the books just come out, the coloring books just come out, and I am working on more Christmas camps. So as soon as I have news about that, it'll be really exciting. And I do have 2 movies that there's some things percolating, and a TV pilot that's getting some interest, which I'm excited, because I've only been allowed to send it out, what, a week and a half? Is that right? Since I've been off strike. But I'll tell you, I'll just give you can hear the what it is first. It's basically it's Schitt's Creek meets Succession.
So winner, yes.
Right, and a royal theme.
Okay, even better. Yes.
So Schitt's Creek meets Succession.
You know, right? What you know.
You, David.
So we'll see of that. But yeah, so, and thank you guys again so much. But I love people following. Oh, and I should say, on top of that website at karenschaler.com, you can sign up for my newsletter. It's the best way to get all the info, because I literally am running out of time and space to tell the freebies. I should tell really quick. 2 books are $1.99. Love Always Christmas everywhere. Same, Amazon, Apple, Barnes and
Everywhere.
Noble, just for a week, just through Friday through Friday.
Okay.
Get that one. Finding Christmas, that's the one that was going to be into a Hallmark movie. I think I shared that with you. And then when COVID happened, yada, yada, yada. It's one of my favorite stories as well. HarperCollins has that one on $1.99, and I think for a while, but I don't know. So I never know. So grab it. There's like 2 books in Kindle Unlimited. So there's those plus Jenny's. We have Jenny Hale. We have Nancy Yeagle. Don't forget them, because that's really, really important. I think they're totally amazing, authors, and you're going to love their work. So thank you again for allowing me to be here and to share. And like I said, you're my tradition girls. So I love you.
The best way to start off the Christmas season. So we love you right back. Yes.
Thanks for kicking us off.
Oh, well, I love that. And, we're going to have so much fun. And thank you for all you're doing to promote Hallmark movies, the actors, all the movies that you do, on all of the actors and directors and musicians. I love how you're growing and branching out, because it's everybody. I want you to have someone on from craft services, because I want to hear behind the scenes of someone that makes
that would be really fun.
The car guy on.
Yeah.
We've had,
wait, I missed, when was that? I missed that one.
Oh, that might have been our very first podcast. We talked to a driver, and that was fascinating.
Yeah. We've had 2 different costumers on, like, spectacular. Yeah.
I love this. The set designers too, because they're the ones that read the, I didn't realize, literally read this, script and then have to find it or create it.
Right.
Yeah. Another fascinating job. Yeah.
Well, I hope to come on very soon and tell you some more big news, but for now, now, and the Christmas, I'll be sending you Christmas joy as soon as your arm is better. Is that your coloring?
I was coloring all weekend long. I have a serious coloring problem. We have serious amount of crayons, pencils, you name it here.
Well, and the whole idea was to de-stress and relax. And people like you tell me, I've never done it, and I need to. If anyone needs to calm down, it's me.
I do it while I'm doing 3 other things. Like, just let's be honest.
That's true. That's true. I can see you doing that. Well, I know. I appreciate you guys so much, and I'm going to be the one to say it. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. That's a perfect way to end. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for watching.